Hey, college kids, just a quick lecturette about culture and organizations. This will be a wrap on these things. Excuse me. The role of culture in shaping organizations, something that most people don't even think about. Um, you think about where you work, or in some cases where you shop, or whatever the case is. Um, this is a culturally oriented thing. So, what makes your culture or what makes where you go different, different restaurants, etc. Culture acts behind the scenes. It shapes behavior, uh, affects decision making, and it affects performance in any organization. So, what is it? Why does it matter? Da da da. We know what culture is. I'm not going to go back over that. Shared values, blah blah blah. But there's another set of things to think about. Um, Three levels. Edgar Schein is a researcher in the field of culture and organizations, and he's come up with three levels of effect of this. I guess you could call it effect. Three levels of results. I don't care what you call it. It's just three things involved in this organization stuff. First is artifacts. These are visible elements like dress code, office layout, rituals in the office, things that behavioral conduct there. And then there's the second thing, espoused values. These are stated values, rules of behavior, like mission statements. Our CU has a mission statement about what we do for our students. And then third, basic assumptions, unconscious beliefs and perceptions that drive behavior. So three things to think about when you think about organizations. Um, some people, when they discuss this, like to use Google. Their setting, open spaces, casual dress, innovation, and they think that promotes creativity and openness. Who's to argue? Just look at Google. So, what does it mean? Why does culture matter in terms of organization? It's not considered a soft factor. It has a direct impact, and it impacts performance, engagement, and even profits, the bottom line. It shapes decision making and problem solving. It influences employee satisfaction and retention. I know I'm going fast, but I want to make this short for you. And it determines how companies respond to change. We go do a whole nother lecture on that. This isn't a business class, but it is a psychology class. So, how companies respond to change, and even if they do, some companies, Netflix is a good example, incorporate freedom and responsibility where they allow their employees to make decisions. I'm not too sure what level of decisions, but they're still involved with it. You can also work at a place that has what we call a toxic culture, where you fear or you fear doing anything because you may get blamed for something going wrong. And the end result of that are high turnover rates and poor production, really. People work in fear. And there's a lot of that out there. Then we have two, I don't know what you want to call these, two categories of culture. National versus organizational. These things can interact, and when they do, it's usually very powerful. There's a Dutch sociologist, well known as a researcher in this area, Geert Hofstede, and he identified dimensions of national culture. Power distance, you've heard this before, individualism and uncertainty avoidance. That influences how people behave at work. U.S. based companies, for example, expanding into Japan, have to adapt to a more hierarchical collectivist culture. Hierarchical, that's chain of command. if they ignore that, companies struggle with misunderstanding, failed mergers, a biggie, demotivated teams, people that don't really buy into the system because they're aggravating and even disrespecting the culture. Organizational culture is a changing thing. Changing culture is tough, but it's not impossible. It usually starts with leadership. Now, we're not talking about culture in general, like how you live, what you live in, although we're not talking about that. We're talking about organization, businesses, for example. Starts with leadership. Leaders they have to model the behaviors they want seen. I know somebody right now, very close to me, works, and I'm not going to name where they work. You would know it's not CU. They work in a place where they're the head of the department. He's not too good. He models poor behavior, but then he expects them to do different. He wants them to do certain tasks that he's not willing to do himself. That's poor model. That's poor leadership. There's steps that you can take to change culture. He needs to maybe think about these. You need to assess the current culture. You can do it by surveys, interviews. This guy doesn't do any of that, and so on and so forth. Number two, you can define the desired culture. What values should guide the organization? Sit down and have a mission statement. Align systems, number three. Align systems and behaviors. Policies, hiring, rewards. Rewards is a biggie. And then finally, communicate and reinforce consistently over time, so people know what to expect. They see things status quo. They can depend on coming into a situation where they know what to expect. So culture is the invisible glue that exists that shapes how organizations work. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It affects everything from your daily behavior to long-term success. And if you do this correctly, you align culture with strategy, and that's really essential for sustainability. That's what's happening with Google. Finally, leaders and teams play a role together in shaping and shifting the culture. Again, we're not talking about these massive changes in a national culture. We're talking about organizations, business culture. Even in police departments where you think everything is hunky-dory, and you find out that sometimes the guys aren't supported by the chief and vice versa. So it can work almost anywhere. So think it over, and boom, that's a wrap. Good luck.